being exerted in that domain. Started off with the economic conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, and then many efforts in the energy sector, the agricultural sector, the mega projects, the expansion of the Suez Canal, the roads and the transportation networks, the administrative capital, the agricultural sector. Seen many things.
Exactly.
But still, it has not, to some extent, it has helped the Egyptian economy, but still there's a lot of work needs to be done. Also, the big decision of the flotation of the Egyptian pound and lifting some of the subsidies and all these austerity measures. Can you highlight how important or how heavy that economic burden has been for the past 4 years?
I was there when the president declared his intention to run for another term, and before he declared this, he deployed the economical efforts done through the last 4 years. Actually, let's start by the major question of floating the currency. It was not a decision, it was a correction of a mistakable situation we live at for decades. Actually, we were subsidizing the imported productions as we do price dollar in a lower price than the real, actual, physical value of it. So it is a correction, not a decision. This is the start of it. And nobody dared, this decision should have been taken, let's say, 1977, something like this, but nobody dared to declare this truth to the people and start to confront the shrinkage of productive investments in Egypt. Actually, all the efforts, let's summarize those efforts and mega projects and others. We are transferring or shifting the economical power, the economical nature of the Egyptian nation from service provider to a productive provider, a production provider. We were only service provider, mainly tourism, which is a great, good activity, but it's very fragile because simply it frustrates the lower priority of human needs, entertainment. But now we are into agriculture production, food production, aquaculture, fish production. It is the top priority of human needs. Now you are producing something that is very important to the world, to the whole world. To go into this or to start this shift, economical shift from such frozen investments, non-productive investments into productive investments, you came to a reality that your infrastructure is not there. You needed 3 mega electric stations. Each one of them is the biggest in the world. You need 5,000 kilometers of roads. 5,000 kilometers of roads. Can you imagine? It's a need. Over and above Suez Canal region, which is 460 square kilometers of logistic area as a start. By the way, it's a start of a logistic area, but in the very near future, it will be an industrial area. Right in the middle of the renewed Silk Road of the world, between Asia, Africa, and Europe. All this, you can see it's a foundation. It was the stage of foundation. You could never attract any productive investments with such infrastructure, no infrastructure you had. You had electricity cut off of, at average, 8 hours per day. Who can start or run an industrial production with such electricity? Now you have an excess of electricity, energy, you can sell it, you can export it even. The declaration came after, as I can understand, deploying what happened from foundation. It's the essential needs to start that economical shift from service provider investments, mainly tourist, to a productive economy. Productive economy. Still, we have some governmental and social obstacles, of course, to transfer the mental direction of the youth to be to look for SMEs, small and medium enterprises. The freelance culture, the freelancing culture, the what they call skillful society, society with the skills, knowledge, work, those values, those ethics, well, they shrinked during the last decades as the production investment shrinked. Now we are shifting this. To be very frank, those foundations are not for my generation, at least, but sure for your generation and for the younger generations. We needed this. We needed such a foundation. And the revenue is, let's not measure the revenue by how many pounds, how many dollars, but look how many investors are now attracted to come and work inside on land, on Egyptian soil. How many people, how many young people now have found jobs in the new cities and new structure, huge structural business. It's sort of maybe in political science they call it positioning. You take the position to jump to another step. It's not the step. What happened is not the step we took. It's the position to take this step. That's what happened. And I believe everybody who believes in the future of Egypt, and for the first time, we have a president and a government working for the future of the young people, the children, not for the daily diary needs. We were working on diary needs basis for 40 years or maybe 50 years. Now we are working for the future of the new generations. I think we should appreciate this very much. Because if this was not happening now, in 5 years, we would have been in a very critical.
Well, I still have a couple of questions before we start talking about what's coming up next. Now, looking at the 4 years that have passed politically, now the government and the presidency have embarked on a lot of efforts in terms of strengthening or really re-establishing Egypt's pivotal role in the region and internationally through a lot of really a lot of efforts in the Foreign Affairs Department. Also, Egypt has been strengthening the relationship with its African countries. Also, we've seen a lot of efforts in combating terrorism and to guarantee the safety and security, whether internally and externally as well. How much do you feel we have achieved in these files?
We have achieved, I will talk about our positions regionally first on our continent. Let's not forget that we were banned from the African Union. We managed to go to regain our seat. So this is the first achievement that we have to say. Secondly, we had, of course, we were candidate for a non-permanent seat in the Security Council. Lots of our external enemies, and we will name it, Qatar and Turkey, of course, said that Egypt is not prepared and willing for that. We pushed our candidacy and we took our seat. That's the second thing. We have managed also to be an important mediator in the conflict of Libya. Now, whatever it's taken in decisions about Libya, Egypt is a fundamental, is a cornerstone in these decisions. Let's say that the main burden that we are having today, of course, or obstacle, is about the Horn of Africa and the problem of Ethiopia, of the construction of the dam, the Renaissance Dam. So we managed to keep things go along for longer time. Many experts thought that we will find that the military solution would be immediately on the table. But no, we exerted all the diplomatic efforts. I mean by that all the options are on the table, of course, and we leave this, of course, to the higher security levels in the country. But still, we showed that we are the big brother of the African nations, as we were always. And the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, when he came to Egypt, he asserted that. So that means that we are extending our hands to them. The President inaugurated conferences for the young people in Sharm el-Sheikh. We invited the young people from the young African nations to come to Egypt, to work here, to have their projects here, to boost economically the startup work. So that means that we are taking a the real position diplomatically. Of course, the Red Sea now is beginning to be the hotspot. We had a vision from the beginning, let's say from the start of the Yemen war in March 2015, when we had our fleet, Southern Fleet. For the first time, Egypt created a Southern Fleet for the Red Sea, because we have economic concerns about the Suez Canal. And this was a great vision, is that we knew that once we will start searching for our rights in the gas fields in the Mediterranean, they will try to squeeze us from the south region, meaning the Red Sea, and that's what Turkey has done with the island of Sawakin, which is belonging to Sudan. So we knew that we had to be prepared for these options. The problem that we are facing now is that we have to be very, very aware that diplomacy and the show of strength, I'm not saying the use of strength, this will have its time, but the show of strength have to go parallel. We have to show that diplomatically we're willing and we are open to all kinds of discussions to the last minute. And in the same time, we're not weak. We have our preparations and we have our calculations. And that's why I'm saying that regionally now, in the war against terrorism, we were struck hard, let's say it. We have martyrs from our police, from our army, and we are paying a heavy price. But let's not forget that we are the last country in this region standing firm.
Yes. And
we will continue that as long as we have a geopolitical strategy and a vision. That's it.
Yes, definitely. Mr. Samra, now you've mentioned the obstacles that the Egyptian government and the Egyptian citizen is facing. Sure, go ahead, please.
After the professor said, it is not just regaining our seat, it's regaining our position, our importance, our affection, and if you excuse me, economically, we started to regain that. We have withdrawn for decades from Africa, from all the attendance in Africa. We've had a company named El Nasr for export. You know, it has 23 branches in 23 African countries, owned by the Egyptian government. During their privatization, crime, which happened, we lost this attendance, affection in the Africa. It's not just the power or military power, it's the soft power of or might say the cultural power. We've lost this. We regained this position by culture, of course by economy. By the way, when you have such Suez Canal region as the heart of the Silk Road, you are the dream of all East African countries to just have a hub zone nearby in a friendly country, which is Egypt. So it's it's not for our own benefit only, for African benefits as well. When you have such a fleet, by the way, of the Red Sea fleet, it's not for the safety or security of only Egypt. It's Eritrea, Djibouti, Somalia, Yemen, even Kenya. They have suffered during Somalian troubles. Of course, this is the big brother, the let's say, arbitrager, the accepted wise pattern of Africa.
Yes.
We are not regaining our seat, we are regaining our position.
Yes.
Which is...
Well, Mr. Samra, this takes us to what you've said earlier, talking about the obstacles, whether they are bureaucratic or governmental or whatever. Now, we have been dealing a lot with the amendments, with the investment law, for the investment law. It has been an issue. It has been a thorn in our side. We've also a lot of effort has been done for the SMEs, a lot of efforts as well to establish the financial inclusion that would really include all sorts of activities and professions within the taxation system, and really introducing or embedding the banking culture within the Egyptian society. Yes. Now, how far have you seen the efforts exerted? Are they enough? Are we achieving progress in these domains? And we've also seen a lot of cabinet reshuffles over the past few years, specifically in the economic sector and the economic committees within the cabinet. And we've seen recently even the latest cabinet reshuffle.
Let's confess. We are 50 years later than wanted. Let's confess this as a start. So we just started such reforming of the, let's say, economical tools, financial and currency tools, and the managerial tools of the cabinet and the ministries and all the government, the state departments. Let me remind you of a notice of yesterday or the day before, when a minister was standing in front of the president and everybody, telling that we are mechanizing, started mechanizing some departments in Upper Egypt. The word mechanizing at the year 2018 is, is astonishing. People are computerizing, are already computerized. We are 50 years late. But we are doing a humongous effort. Let's say this. We are doing a humongous effort. Yes, the business culture, the work culture, the knowledge culture. Can you imagine that yet we do not have the knowledge management theory in all the government department? They are using data or information system and information management theory, not knowledge management theory, which is the accumulated knowledge from the society upon generations. We don't have this. We started to build this. In a discussion with the Minister of Planning and Managerial Development, I can assure a great effort is being done. A great effort is being done. But let me say it as the Minister, Her Excellency, said it. It is the human element is the problem. And fixing the human element, it takes time. It is the human element. It's not the computers, not the machines. It is the human element behind the machines and computers. It takes time. We have a very big hope. By the way, we are accelerating to insert young men to the public work and to the, of course, to the business by the new institution for
leaders.
Yes, for leaders, for preparing leaders. We are providing, bankers are providing this initiation from the Central Bank of Egypt at 5% cost for the new loans for young people. We have a hope. We are relying on young people, because those are the pure human element that we can prepare prepare properly to make the requested fix, the ambitious, very ambitious step ahead. Well, yes, we have done a lot, but it takes time. It takes some time. Of course, when you mix foreign investments from more developed countries to come to work in Egypt, and to insert some young people with new ideas, with very creative ideas into this dynamic working system, of course it will accelerate the fix, of course, but still it takes time.
Yes, definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, talking about the upcoming presidential elections, actually around 43 or 44 organizations have submitted their requests to observe the upcoming presidential elections slated for March and a runoff in April, including over 40 international organizations. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The vote for the upcoming presidential elections is set to take place on the 26th to 28th of March, with candidates required to submit all the necessary papers to the National Elections Authority, the NEA, between the 20th and the 29th of January. A second round will be held on April 24th to 26th if necessary. To be accepted as candidate for the presidency, candidates must receive the recommendations of at least 20 elected members of the House of Representatives or support from at least 25,000 citizens, with the right to vote in at least 15 governorates, with a minimum of 1,000 supporters from each governorate. In all cases, no one person can support more than one candidate. This authorization consists of form is issued by the notary offices across the country. Minister of Social Solidarity Rada Wali has announced that by January the 18th, the National Elections Commission (NEC) had received 43 requests from non-governmental organization NGOs, 4 of them international, to monitor the upcoming presidential elections. Wali added that the Commission would continue to receive requests until a deadline of January the 22nd. According to sources at the Commission's Real Estate Registrations Office, 28 candidates had registered their names and intentions to run in the presidential elections by January 21st. The NEC's electoral rules of candidates declared that a presidential hopeful can officially run if they secure 25,000 endorsements from citizens' supports to their bid. The preliminary list of names of the candidates, the number of recommendations from the members of House of Representatives, and the number of authorizations from the people will be published in the official gazette at the end of the current month, which will be followed by appeals process.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion. Now, Dr. Amir, regarding the upcoming presidential elections, now, do you feel that, let's say, 2 months from now, do you think it would be enough time? We already know President Sisi from the past 4 years as a president, but still there will be new candidates and new presidential hopefuls who will be running for these elections. Do you feel that over the next 2 months, the Egyptian community, the Egyptian society will be able to have a good knowledge of the upcoming candidates? Do you feel that our campaigning strategies in Egypt are good enough and very informative for all the Egyptian citizens to know the upcoming candidates?
Well, let me tell you that it's much related to the Egyptian mind, the people, than the campaigns itself. This is what makes it different from our friends in the West. They always depend on pragmatic work, calculation, statistics of every campaign, whether in the United States or in France or anywhere else. But here in Egypt, I think that the trauma or the adventure that we went through in January 25th, 2011 gave us a lot of experience. Maybe we have lost a lot on many tracks, but we gained experience. As I said at the beginning, all the reasons were on the table to push the people to go to the streets and say we cannot afford it anymore, but they didn't. And this is what President Sisi said. And he had his bet on the people, and he won this bet. The people now has very, very accurate mind about who's playing what game. I wrote an article 2 days ago about all the candidates. It was in Arabic, and I said it clearly that let's not, especially for the media, let's not attack anyone who is against the president in the coming elections, because the Egyptian mind is very clear. They know how to make the choice now. We know about every candidate. We know the story behind every candidate and what he has in mind. President Sisi, for the first time as a candidate, I would say, who came out with calculation, statistics, with the positive and the negative. He gave the account to the people for over 3 days. I doubt, with all my respect for all the other candidates, that someone will spend 3 days talking to the people about all that, receiving questions, being asked directly about even his mistakes, whatever he has done wrong or right. It was very direct. So I think that the Egyptian people now, we are open all to the, of course, we want to listen to everyone. We want to listen to the campaigns, But still, the people who are seeking this seat, by the way, President Sisi called it, it's the presidency of Egypt is a seat of fire. Whoever sits on it, it's burning. It's whoever wants to go to this seat, he has to know that he's dealing with a new generation now who went through a lot and would not accept something which is very cheap, as telling the people, I will give you all the job opportunities and that's it. How we'll do it? I will offer you the security. I will not let the people go to the military trials. By the way, one of the candidates said, I won't let all the people who went to trials to go to military trials and all that. One of the concerns of us, the Egyptians, we said we wanted swift trials because enough blood has been shed. We have paid a very heavy price, and we need now swift trials. So he was talking the wrong language, the wrong people now.
Yes. Well, Mr. Samra, now we are slated for elections at the second half of March with a runoff in April. Now, if there are no runoffs, the new president will be sworn in or will be known by the 2nd of April.
Yes.
Now, how competitive do you feel this upcoming presidential elections will be? Do you think that we will need a runoff? How do you expect these next few months to be?
Well, in fact, according to the other candidates or said candidates, I cannot find sort of serious competition to the presidency, the presidency seat. It is sort of, what I say, sort of amateur play. Even when some candidates, some said candidates, shown some seriousness, we realized later that they are not. It's not the right legally to to candidate themselves. In fact, some people are blaming on the medium, but media can never be more informative than the candidate campaigns itself. The campaigns, if you read or listen to others, no one gave reasons, reasonable facts. Only the president came with the nothing imaginary, no promises, he was very realistic, very down to earth, very relying on work and knowledge. He gave nothing like the old left-wing statements that only talks to the emotions. He was not talking to our emotions at all. He was talking to our minds, to our reasoning, to our weighing up things with numbers, with facts. So, no, I cannot expect any serious competition. No, I cannot expect this.
Yes. Well, Dr. Amir, whether President Sisi wins the upcoming presidential elections or a new president is sworn in, now, what do we want as the Egyptian society politically in the for the next 4 years?
Well, I will quote President Sisi in the last conference, and he said, well, you, the Egyptians, you will have very hard time with me in the coming years. He was direct. I remember Winston Churchill told the British, I promise you 3 things, sweat, tears, and blood. And he was really very, very honest about what he said. So this gives us a preview about what we were going to see. Going back to your question, I think that let's talk about President Sisi, because yes, many candidates or so-called candidates are not giving us the real view. Maybe, and this is, we are asking.
They don't have. Simply, they don't have.
They don't have the real knowledge of what is Egypt 2018. They don't get it that Egypt 2018 is not Egypt 2010 before the revolution, or 2013 before the second revolution. It's very different. From the young generation, much of the people, yes, maybe they're asking questions. Where are we going? But they know very well that we have to endure. And the president himself said it. We will endure. So President Sisi himself was very clear that the job won't be done easily. I, as a specialist in geopolitical affairs, I can tell you that many of our economic solutions will be brought once lots of files will be closed in the Middle East, especially the Syrian and the Libyan file, and also the gas fields that we are seeking with Cyprus and cooperation with Cyprus. You see now Turkey, how it's acting everywhere. They're waging a war in northern Syria, and at the same time they're having a base in the Red Sea aiming to harm our interest. So they're playing dangerous game. For when you have a neighbor like Erdogan, it's very dangerous. You don't expect that things will be very, very easy. I remember President Sisi said when we went to the gas fields in the Mediterranean, he didn't give the details, but he said we were attacked by certain ways to be provoked. He said we were provoked several times. And I can tell you from my knowledge, it could be, of course, by the Turks in this region and by other terrorist elements in this region to just push us away from our legal economic rights. So once lots of these files will be closed, and especially also in Libya because of the oil fields also. There's many companies who want to gain there. But we have to have a stable country first. Yes. And we have to endorse a real state there. And we have to also be open to all the superpowers. Now the Russians are there. They're offering us economic exchange, whether in El Dawa nuclear power plant or in the Suez Canal. And they have now the Chinese, they're aiming investments in Sudan. Why not they come here and also to Egypt? So we have to go through all that to show toward we are a moderate power. We won't have, from now on, a biased decisions. We would not lean to the West against our own interests. We are open to everyone. So I think that with all my respects to all the other pretenders, candidates, we have to tell them the real message. We have to tell them, get real.
Get real.
Yes.
Get real.
Mr. Samra, now, same question, but on the economic front. If we have President Sisi going on for a second term, should we expect to see the results of all the mega projects that we have embarked on? Are we supposed to see the nuclear Daba power plant actually...
It took 5 years.
Yes. Well, for instance, or like the gas exploration in the Mediterranean.
Yes.
Are we going to see the fruit of this all?
Yes.
And if we have a new president, other than President Sisi, is there a possibility that some of these projects are stopped, or is there a possibility to have a U-turn on some of these economic plans?
To have a U-turn, it's possible, but projects to stop, no, because there are obligations, contracting obligations, and I think Egyptians will never elect another president unless he is with the same vision, wide, far vision like President Sisi. We will confront this at 2022, for sure. We will choose another one with the same vision to continue those projects. Let me, if you excuse me, let's differentiate in those mega projects. Some mega projects from the view of return. Some mega projects do not have a direct return, such as roads. The road has no direct return, but the return of a road is 2 kilometers west, 2 kilometers east of any road, of 5,000 kilometers of road. Those will be growing areas, help with the redistribution of demographic, the mistakable demographic distribution of the Egyptian people. On the other hand, energy stations, energy plants, of course, this gets a direct revenue. You can find this in the Suez Canal area. It takes time to develop, to adapt the society around it into a working, productive society, to start gaining revenues, knowledgeable working society. So those mega projects, most of them will be, yes, some of them will be of a very direct result, like aquaculture, fish agriculture and agriculture. This, we now can touch this with the prices going down a bit.
Yes.
Starting mid 2018, we will see by our eyes a reduction in prices. On the other hand, by figures, IMF and the International Bank, they do calculate Egyptian pound end of 2018 at 16 pounds per dollar. This is their calculations, not ours. By the way, I'm not encouraging this. I wish it does not drop this way. The dollar price does not drop this way, just to enforce our exports and tourism. But it is the calculations. I think those calculations took in consideration the gas selling, the wheat agriculture,
Yes.
the wheat harvest, which will be, I think, April or May, something like this. Yes, we can see some direct results very soon, especially with the Egyptian production. The production on Egyptian soil, we can see some improvement, some good improvement even. But in other fields, it will take some time, some more time. But we are on the right track.
Yes. Dr. Amir, now the organizations, non-governmental organizations that really want to observe the upcoming elections, how do you feel this will, how do you evaluate it as an experience to be in the future? Obviously, we understand that there are always talks and controversy around elections, even in the most developed countries. But how transparent and fair do you feel the upcoming presidential elections will be?
Well, as I repeat it again, the excellent observer is the people of Egypt. And they're capable of acting and saying no whether there's something going wrong. These organizations, we all know that, I don't want to generalize, but some of them perhaps are trying, sometimes they try, we experienced this in the former elections in 2014. Some of them, when they saw that President Sisi had overwhelming vote and people were voting for him massively, one of the organizations started talking about the political process in Egypt, which is not their work. Their work on the field is to monitor whether there is transparency and every citizen has had his right to vote or not. And one of them started talking about the Muslim Brotherhood and all these problems. It was not their work. So I think that for the second time, saying that the Egyptians are very aware of the way these organizations are working. I hope that the media would highlight the work of these organizations to the Egyptians, so that the Egyptians would not be tricked in a way or another by any other media. Let's not give a place to other media.
Yes, definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's check out this report regarding the activities and trips of the Egyptian presidency and the government over the past period, and we'll be right back.